Hi, I'm Andy Luke, writer, author, podcaster, YouTuber, and welcome to the fourth in the series of deep dives on Press Gang. And now the end is the episode where this show really flexes its stuff. Originally broadcast 13th of February 1989, it's a first time in the director's chair for second director Lorne McGorry. The Grant Moffat shows what he's capable of as a character writer, and the small cast are on top of their game. Linda is handing out yellow notes for the Saturday night late duty at the junior paper. It's an exercise of her power of authority as vested in her by Assistant Head Sullivan. The legitimacy is dubious. This episode takes place close to the preceding one. We learn that from a fun tapestry of excuses, including setting up the running joke of Kenny's Schrodinger's aunt. My favourite line has to go to Danny.
I told my mum I'd help her paint the garden, or something.
In the character deep dive, Tiddler seems an odd choice for selection, as she's not the main cast, but perhaps that's the point. Ambassador for supporting roles. Her fakery and crashing work shift keeps up the momentum from her introduction. She makes a great foil for Spike, whose quips are top form. A yellow chit, the invisible elephant in the room. Linda got dumped. This means a black cloud mood reigning through the episode, with Linda creating a tense working environment. 5 minutes in, it boils into Spike versus Linda in full-on newsroom conflict. Sides are taken. Linda's paranoia, Spike's temper, a violent argument, the first of quite a few. Moffat and McGorry use a chorus of voices to divide the newsroom and accentuate the drama so the air bristles. It's an incredible edge-of-the-seat dramatic bit. A phone call to Sullivan is a threat used against Spike. The line is twisted, so we'll put that on our tally. How we get there is by Linda's need to control every aspect of everything in her life. This begins a legend of Linda Day. It's a little part of what makes her one of the most rounded characters in television fiction. As will later be said, she'll do whatever it takes for her newspaper. Spike's part in this is similarly dark. Having spent 3 episodes semi-normalizing this hoodlum, Moffat reminds us his bad reputation is earned. He does not back away from fights. He fights back. And here we see it up close. Fletcher is unnerving and believable. The main set piece positions this as another bottle episode, but where Deadline was a bottle made of time, this one is made of space. Between this scene and the last one, Spike has thought of creative ways to deal with Linda, primarily using his ability to charm everyone else. It's an anti-authoritarian power move. I love his little interactions with Tiddler, laying the groundwork for their friendship, and perhaps her crush. He distracts from the editorial agenda with his own stories. This infuriates a gloomy workaholic. Spike wants to make sure Linda's ex, James Armstrong, is not invited to the feast.
Linda's boyfriend made history.
There's a big clue in how Kenny knows nothing of the breakup, given as we learn he and Linda are very close. So this is her tactic in dealing with such things. Bottle up the emotions, put locks over them, a secure electric fence, and cover all of it with camouflage materials. But Spike knows. It works as lampshading his skills as a reporter. He's a deeply socially networked fella. Spike also camouflages his emotions through humour. In this case, his knowledge of James Armstrong, divulged in photo finish, suggests he knew Linda's relationship trouble was on the cards. It's a pity Spike's reaction to the news is never spoken of explicitly. I imagine he didn't tell Linda, on the basis that his character speaks from depths. Spike is often a mystery man. He presents on surface as a gag machine genius. The show's humour, too, is very much in Spike Thompson's style. It's as if his comedy skills have run loose and infected everyone. And there's a bait and switch of Spike. He's been thinking about Linda, about James, and the paper, and holding back his impulse to act out.
Look, Kenny, thanks for trying and everything, but I'm leaving, okay? Before this gets any more stupid. Hi, everyone.
Paul Reynolds is striking here. With the pang on his nose, when he stands up, the suit shapes around his legs like a rabbit on his hinds. crossing his legs in a chair for an anthropomorphic transition. The suit's hands hang from the wrists, giving them a life of their own. The other characters play his anxiety attack for laughs. Warner Edison is a massive deal for Colin, in the same way Matt Kerr is for Linda. Her understanding of that gives us the first sign she has a soft spot when it comes to Colin. We've seen that be a blind spot, indicated here by the ping. Linda shows some compassion for wheeler dealer Thatcher Boy. Sure, he's also one of her main loathes. They've got an odd relationship. She's very valuable to him as a Gazette's financial man, but also finds him especially odious. Linda's sincere affection in this scene is quite a contrast with the earlier showdown with Spike, which marked her out as a bit of a vile beast. And while the newsroom titters undercut Colin's emotional arc, the signature scene in the hallway, where Linda pushes him with quick, pragmatic advice, is a foreshadowing of season 2's Something Terrible. Multidimensional Linda. At the halfway point, let's turn to our in-depth feature. We'll be looking at the career of Joanna Dukes. Now, Julie's assured me she'd make a very smart graphics card to go with the scene. Well, where is she? I don't care if she's gone to Watford. You find her and give her this. Welcome to our special feature on Joanna Dukes. Joanna had a fairly short acting career, debuting in this 1981 series.
BBC Two in a moment has another rendezvous down at the Mulberry. That's the pub frequented by some of the residents of World's End.
Detail on the drama is scarce. It was about a community centred around a fictional Mulberry pub in the World's End area of Chelsea, London. She appears as Dot in Series 1, Episode 5. In 1983, she'd feature in the first of 2 series of Behind the Bike Sheds, produced by Yorkshire Television and airing on Children's ITV.
I bet he's in court. The cops have probably found out about him pawning the sports trophies.
Yeah, who told him?
Bike Sheds pit the kids of Fully Comprehensive against Principal Pericles Braithwaite. There was also musical and positively cringe-inducing too. I do respect you, Joanna. Look how great you look here. Joanna left after the first series, possibly for the featured role on The Box of Delights with Devon Stanfield and Patrick Troughton. The 6-parter about magic and time travel ended on Christmas Eve and was Christmas event television with state-of-the-art graphics. It has a fond place as a cult series, but also with universal appeal for a certain age range. Reviewer Simon Brew wrote, "It remains one of the most magical Yuletide dramas that the BBC has ever made." Joanna played Maria Jones, a proactive pal of lead character Kay.
Oh, bother that. Then I can look after myself. I've generally got a pistol or 2 on me, and I'm dead shot with both hands.
Her character even has her own piece on the soundtrack. Box of Delights won 5 BAFTAs and was probably the role she'd be best known for until Press Gang. Cat's Eyes were a group of lady detectives whose agency was secretly a front for the British Home Office, and Joanna guested in a lead story role in Series 2, Episode 4, Good as New. Sarah Johns is the estranged daughter of a pair of Russian defectors about to reveal something massive. The Cat's Eyes go undercover at the school to protect Sarah's life. 1986 entered a piece in a tutorial topics drama as part of the BBC Schools programming. Another prestige TV miniseries in A Little Princess with Amelia Shankly and Maureen Lipman. Made by London Weekend Television, it did very well overseas and picked up another BAFTA award for Best Children's Programme, Entertainment and Drama. A few more one-offs. In Rockcliffe's Folly, she plays Josie, a girl in trouble, who reminds a protagonist to pay more attention to his own daughter. And in the debut of Casualty Series 4 is Jane Wyatt in Chain Reaction. That's the episode kicking off with a spectacular stunt involving barrels of hydrofluoric acid, one of which almost mowed down the camera crew. The little mischief. In Press Gang, Joanna as Tiddler was the unofficial 7th member of the main cast. What's that, Julie? What did she eat? Apes? Apes? I don't know what you're talking about. The editor of the Junior Gazette appears in 30 episodes across all 5 series, bowing out with 1:45. Then Joanna quit acting. I feel that really is our loss, because she's shown distinguished looks and a presence in her delivery that makes you stop and notice, and her performance can pivot the whole direction of a scene. I was unable to find out what she's up to these days, but I can speak for the fan community when I say I hope it's the best life. And thank you.
He is so studying, he told me. He's doing a thing on Venn diagrams.
Yeah? She sounds foreign.
The cameras dwell on Linda and Kenny as Spike begins to cook. Their shock breaks up the comic flow, however tells us that they're from families where every need is cared for. Spike is definitely not, and the writing gives us deep character detail in 90 seconds. Later in the episode, he'll mention domestic violence at home. There's a lot of detail about Spike that will be setting up things for future episodes. And later in A Night In, he'll mention domestic violence at home. The confessions allow for Linda to open up to him some, and in his responses to try to break down her barriers with tenderness. Colin the rabbit nearly causing a traffic accident and on the run from the cops is a pretty picture. In the end credits, we learn he shouted out to Julie on the road, who's put it down to a hallucination. It's a brief scene showing Colin's vulnerability to panic and anxiety attacks, and also how he reacts to challenges.
I was not dumped.
The theme of abandonment runs through this episode. Linda being dumped by James, the other James, Spike, neglected by his parents, Colin and the loss of his future in business, even Tiddler, who, because she's a kid, had to con her way into being included in the night shift, and Linda was dumped. James has made history, we might think, because no one turns her down. Being classed as a loser is an antithesis to her whole way of life. The scene in Act 1 where Spike is threatened with expulsion comes in second place to the competitive eating here, which I feel is more than a little iconic. Both pieces set up the intensity of the pairing that fills the air with electricity and sharp objects. Spike awakens a maturity in Linda in the Wild West showdown of managing Eastern food with chopsticks. It's got Sergio Leone westerns written all over it. It's a fun scene and important character beat. Colin returns crestfallen. His key influencer is dead. He's accidentally sabotaged a network of business contacts. The Warner Edison affair is hardly mentioned again, but long term it may explain why Colin tries so hard at everything. By the time of the bathroom scene, all the heavy lifting is done in the Spike and Linda relationship. His material has been gentle, deep, tender, and she's coming through as stubborn, prideful, tortured, and domineering. This is just the final shuffle. Linda already has a realization to move past James Armstrong and get back to editing the paper, because that's all that matters. And so we begin a descent that will see us 38 episodes later, with her having shaved her head and cooking crystal meth. It's kind of tough to call this 5-star television, even though it is. And that's because it's so quiet. Even its flaws add to the value. It would be great to recommend to someone who's never seen Press Gang. The lighting arrangements being that at times it feels like a live stage play. We feel the time of night and the need for coffee, but by the same measure it's also put me in the mood for Peking-style chicken and garlic. Please share this video around your Press Gang news desks and check out the rest of this channel. There are videos of Doctor Who and Star Wars, which you do not need to be a fan of to enjoy. There's pieces on Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which are kind of similar in style to this one, and pieces on creative writing, making comics and living as an activist. I make a lot of things strictly behind a paywall on my Patreon. There are 8 years of creative writing and cartooning on there, and also early previews of 8 videos a month. Everyone gets access on the basic tier, which is £1, and you also get free advertising. For example, thanks to patrons Art K, director of Farset Labs, Arsalan Haider, photographer posting on Instagram as the Light Binder, and author John Robbins, whose novella Death to Everyone is a wickedly funny little read in search of wider peepers. I'll be back next week to look at Press Gang episode 6, Interface.